Howdy folks, welcome to another beautiful day out here in West Vancouver. Beautiful chilly day. It's funny actually, yesterday was beautiful and sunny and I was wearing my t-shirt and it wasn't really cold. And then this morning we wake up to a layer of snow, not much, just a dusting. And then a little bit later the sun came up. I mean, it was enough snow for Angelique to inquire if it wasn't another snow day and if she can't stay home, but none of that. Anyway, so a little bit later, sun came out, all of the snow gone, it was sunny again, and now it's starting to get cold, so it feels like we're going to get some more snow again tonight. Vancouver weather, what can you say? It is what it is. All right. So one of the questions people often ask me is, where should they settle down? Where should they go and stay? I mean, if you move to Vancouver as an immigrant like we did, you don't know nothing about what happens in Vancouver. Which are the best areas? Which are the best neighborhoods? I mean, really, where should you go and stay? And the answer is Vancouver. Pretty much everywhere is okay. You just need to, I would suggest the first thing you do is come and stay here for about a month or so in an Airbnb or in a short-term rental and do your own research and drive around and find out where you want to fit in. Make sure what's important to you. I'm obviously very biased towards the North Shore. I really enjoy the North Shore. West Vancouver is great. North Vancouver is actually really great. In hindsight, I might have actually preferred to move to North Van because the beauty of North Van is there's a lot of public transport, there's a lot happening there. You know, there is some nightlife, there's a lot of restaurants, there's a lot of everything around there, and it's all nice and close, and it is also really, really beautiful. You know, you've got the upper side of North Van and Lynn Valley, those areas where you are in the mountains. It's stunning, yet you are still only a bus ride away from city center per se. So yeah, North Van is a great one. West Van, really nice, but you know, if you live in West Van, you're probably going to need a car. There are buses around, but not as much as everywhere else. So what I do like about West Vancouver, it's just out here onto the Sea to Sky Highway. It is a little bit sleepy. So I enjoy it here. So very biased towards this side. But then, of course, there's a bunch of other places that are also amazing. I mean, White Rock is really, really cool. Beautiful area, beautiful beach. I mean, they drive down the coast and there's this little shops and stuff. It's an amazing area. And the one thing that I like about White Rock, which, you know, I would probably move there for, is the fact that it's really close to the US. Because I'd go to the US quite often. You know, our favorite ice cream we can only get in the US and. So over here we're an hour's drive away from the US border. If you live around White Rock or those areas, you are very close to the US border. Even Cloverdale, where Brahm and them lives, it's a really nice area. It's you know, it's also a little bit newer. That's one thing about West Vancouver specifically. Well, there's obviously some remodeled homes and everything, but most of the houses here are much older, bigger, and, you know, like ours, slightly falling apart, but hey, we love it. Anyway, so yeah, White Rock is great. Cloverdale is a great area. If you go further out, Port Coquitlam, Port Moody, absolutely beautiful out there and a little bit cheaper than this side of town. Then you have Abbotsford and Langley. Langley is an amazing area itself. Abbotsford is great. Chilliwack is much cheaper. It's a lot flatter though there. You know, you see the mountains far away. You're more in a flat area. Langley, Chilliwack, those areas, Abbotsford. But there's also big South African communities in those areas. I suppose there's big South African communities everywhere. Those areas are also really nice. And if you don't have to work in town, then it makes a lot of sense to move out there. I mean, another mate of mine, Zimbabwe guy, he was living at the Park Royal Apartments over here, and I don't know, they were paying $3,800 or something for a 2-bedroom apartment. They just moved to Chilliwack, where they have like a 3-bedroom townhouse with an extra workroom for, I think he said $2,800. So much, much cheaper. Definitely a better deal than around here. And it's also nice in its own way. I mean, yes, you've got the majestic mountains out on the side, but there's There's quite a cool lake out there that I know that's warmer. People like to go there in summer and swim. You've got Harrison Hot Springs out that side. Of course, you've got Hope, I mean, with the beautiful mountains and stuff out on that side of Chilliwack. So yeah, there's really some really cool places everywhere. Now, let's talk about town itself. I personally don't like living in apartment blocks in town, so for me that doesn't work. But there's also a really big community, and the nice thing about the people living in town, like Renelle and them, they, you know, you're so close to everything. You're in your apartment, you walk down, they live there by Denman Street, so it's like just down the road to any restaurant, or, you know, it's walking distance to everything, and it's always bustling and hustling and bustling, and you're close to the park, Stanley Park. So, you know, for some people that's great. Me personally, I don't like it. I'm more of a house type of person, but town is good. It is a little bit more expensive. You know, town is also, you get smaller space for more money. That's what it costs. But you can get lucky and find some really cool apartments for decent rates there as well. So, you know, who knows? I think the bigger question is rather where you don't want to go and stay. You know, there's definitely lots of areas that are cool. Tawasin, great. I mean, we drove through there the other day. It's when we went to Point Roberts. Beautiful area, nice and new. I mean, we didn't have a lot of experience there, but it looks like a nice and cool area. The areas that I wouldn't want to stay, personally, obviously the first one is East Van. You know, East Vancouver, there's an area in East Van that are just, you know, it's just that there's a drug problem and a homeless problem, and it's just not, you know, it's just a little bit of the sticks. You don't want to hang out there. And it's not dangerous per se, I won't put it that way. It's just not as clean and as like, yeah, I don't know. You know, it's where they had those guys living on the streets and the tent encampments. They've removed them now, but you have the addicts parking off on the street, hanging out there. It's just not kosher, you know, you know what I mean. Not the type of place I would want to go and stay in. So that's one of the areas that you must definitely be careful of. Another thing that you need to look out for, though, that especially if you're a South African or and you don't speak Mandarin or Farsi or one of those, another thing you need to look out for is the cultural areas. There are definitely out there in Richmond and in Burnaby and some of those areas, there are whole neighborhoods that are very much not English. Let me put it that way. I mean, you would, with some of those shops, you walk in there, and in those neighborhoods, you walk around there, and all the signage is in Mandarin. Everything is Chinese. I mean, now I don't have anything against the Chinese. Don't get me wrong. I just don't understand Mandarin, so it makes it much harder to fit in, I guess. So yeah, there's a couple of those areas. There's areas where there's huge communities like the Chinese community or an Indian community, and that community is almost like completely gone, as if they have their own little town in that area. So just also be careful of that if you're moving through. You want to understand the shop signage around you, I guess. It's important. For the rest, yeah, I would say if you need to move here, my advice, step by step, was firstly, where are you going to work? If you already have a job and you already have a place that you need to work, then the first step would be to check the traffic. I mean, you don't want to work in town, for instance, and live in West Vancouver. It's a pain in the ass. You hit the big bridges, it is a nightmare. But you can work in town and live in North Van because you can just pop off over on the sea bus, which is great. Or you can work in town and live somewhere out in Chilliwack, or, well, no, not Chilliwack, Port Coquitlam, because you can grab the SkyTrain. It's going to spend half an hour or an hour on the train, but I mean, it'll get you there and it'll get you back. If you're out to Tawasin side or there to the south, There are buses into town, but it's a little bit harder. You know, it takes a little bit longer to get there. So check where you need to be, where you need to work, and first check the public transport and the transport from there. Now, you can drive with your car, but, you know, it doesn't happen often. But in Vancouver, if it snows or if it ices over and the traffic goes into like freaking nuclear nutsness, then it really goes into like complete freaking shit show, to say the least of it. I mean, there's been days here where it took people 8 hours to get home just because it snowed and the bridges closed down and stuff like that. So important to know where you are going to work, if you do, and check the routes from there. That's the first thing. If you're going to work from home or you are not tied down by that, the next thing I would look at is, if you have kids, the schools. Melinda fuzzed about the schools, which are the best schools and everything. Not that I mean it, not that I think it meant that much. I mean, schools are good. They all like good. And then the next thing that you need to think about is, you know, what do you enjoy? What's your community? Do you like hiking and biking and mountains and stuff? Then North Shore is great. Or some of the other areas. Do you like the ocean and flat, or do you like flat spaces? You know, that's what you got to think about. Port Coquitlam, Langley, those areas, that's very much flat and farmland and stuff like that. So more open space. So yeah, then you need to start thinking about that. And then of course the other thing is community. Now, as a South African, I'm speaking for South Africans, but I mean there's lots of South Africans everywhere. There's vibrant little communities, there's things happening everywhere, and it's not that far. You know, today I popped through to Langley to go pick up stock for the South African shop from Serengeti. It was a 45-minute drive roughly, on the highway, so it's not a mission. You know, it was really easy. Speaking of which, Serengeti still is one of the coolest South African stores in Vancouver. If you are around Langley or you're driving out that way, go swing by and say how's it to Rian, Pascal and the guys there. It is an absolutely amazing store, and they've got some really cool stock, and they, you know, nice people. And if you can't go out there and you need some of those South African goodies, go to the southafricanshop.ca. If you are in North Van or West Van in this area, place your orders and I will come and deliver. Just on checkout, just say for pickup and let me know, and I'll pop through and I'll drop it off. Then we can save some shipping costs. All right. Okay, folks, so that's what I think about how to pick your place to stay. Of course, be aware that oftentimes something that us as South Africans are not used to at all is this basement suites, or this like that two families live in one house now, which is very, very common over here. This is like, it's yeah, interesting. When we were looking for places to rent, we would always go like, oh, this looks good, 3 bedrooms, it looks like a house. Then you get there and it's like, oh no, you're just renting the bottom floor or the top floor, this section. So in Canada, a lot of the homes have got 2 homes in one. They call it a basement suite. So they actually, you know, maybe have a door in between that's closed, but it's 2 separate living conditions. It's kind of standard procedure. So yeah, also just look out for that. Make sure that you, if you don't want that you don't take that. All right, folks, you all must have an absolutely beautiful day. I'm going to go inside now because it is really actually very cold out here. My ears are starting to freeze over. Oh, wow, 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 wow. All right, have a good one. Cheers.